Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Thursday Morning MV Pro Call. Today is July 17th, and I'd like to welcome those of you that are here live, as well as those of you listening to this via recording, which, of course, you can do by subscribing to Moti-Vitality on whatever podcast application you happen to use, or by visiting Moti-Vitality.com, where you can listen to lots and lots and lots of them. Although we have completely, and this takes us right into some of the announcements I have. We've completely rebuilt Moti-Vitality.com. And so the old podcast, the old recordings, the topics are listed, but the recordings will have to be the old ones. The new ones will be up. Anything from a couple weeks ago. But the old ones, if you want to go back and listen, will be archived for now. You have to let me know, although I am going to try and put them in zip files and upload them so you can download in the entire season at a time. So I'm working on that. Also super excited to announce that we have created our first service class. During this class, it's going to be a 3-day course, so 1 day virtual, and then 3 days on site at our facility, where there will be actual troubleshooting scenarios for service. So we will have equipment installed and messed up. We'll do valve teardowns, multiple types of valves. We'll identify the most common components that need service, how to fix them, how to troubleshoot them, how to recognize what to do. There'll be some best practices on how to expedite service calls so that you're not having to do everything at a customer's home during the time. So all of that is taking place next month. Actually, in September, I believe, is when we have it scheduled. So please take a look at that. We have the description of that on Moti-Vitality.com as well. And then we do have our next premium class that begins, I believe it's August 4th, Michelle. The virtual begins August 4th. So hopefully you'll be able to join us for that. If you have any installers that's the course that is, you're eligible for the WQA certification exam, and love to have you participate in that. As I mentioned, Moti-Vitality.com is new and up. I'd love it if you guys could take a look at it, and if you see any broken links or anything that looks wonky, I will let my IT guy know and see if he can get that fixed. Oh wait, that's me. So just shoot me an email, and I will I'll try and address it. But I'd love to have your thoughts on it. And the old site, I just think it was built on top of each other and the whole thing, and it just needed to be more user friendly, a lot more intuitive. So we redesigned and rebuilt. So let me know your thoughts. Anyway, with that, I'm going to start the call off the way I do pretty much every week, which is by asking, is there anything anybody learned this last week that you wish you had known before? Anything that happened that's worthy of sharing with other professionals across the country, or anything we can help you with?
I have a question.
Hi.
Kelly,
Morning.
Catherine, how are you?
Hey, Catherine.
We're going to roll out call-to-call management, hopefully within 3 weeks, where our techs will only see one call at a time. So it's not, we were finding that that they're stressing out over their next job and not giving their current job enough time. So it makes sense, but they're all having a cow over it. And I don't have room for cows in my office. So I'm just curious if anybody do call-to-call management. Or have you ever done that? Have you ever worked with that, Kelly, with other, contractors, companies that you've coached?
So I'll leave that, Paul. I mean, that would be kind of, or Scott, but that would be a great question. Have you guys ever done that? And what are your thoughts on something like that?
We have not done that at our dealerships. My guys have a lot of calls. We do train them to focus on the call that they're at. And because of the miles that we drive, it would be, they got to be prepared for the day to make sure they have everything on their truck. I'm sure you have a plan in place to do that.
Yeah, we do.
We do not do that. And the way it's working right now is working pretty well.
Interesting. Scott, have you guys do anything like that?
Paul, I got a question. Do you do your techs or your salespeople, do they see all appointments that are assigned to them, say, today, tomorrow, the next day, or do they have just the visibility of the next day?
They can see on their work grid about a week's worth of work coming up, and it has not been an issue whatsoever. And at times, they may be able to get into one of those calls when something gets canceled. My techs do manage their calls very well in regards to trying to get that customer taken care of.
Because we used to only have the visibility of today. The call to call is interesting. I can understand, like, any change like that, you're going to get, if any change that big, you're going to get pushed back. But eventually, they'll get on with the program and go along with it. But I would love for you to give us feedback over the next, like give us a update a month to see, like, exactly how it's worked. We used to have, they could only see, like, the next day because, the schedule is a moving parade. People add routes. You can add things. And the reason we gave them complete visibility is to allow them to generate their own leads and set their own appointments. So when they talk to somebody, said, "Oh, well, I got a spot between here and here," and they can add it in the field. But seeing that far out sometimes gives some, has its own challenges too.
Yeah, that's what I've seen when companies have done that. Is you have people that decide they don't feel like doing that call that day, and they'll call in, or there were people that would, suddenly, I'm sick, it just became a challenge to reschedule some of the more difficult jobs. I've seen that before. Paul, you had something to add?
I like them to be able to see a little bit ahead, just because discussions can be had if they have questions.
Yeah.
I find it struggling at times giving guys work first thing in the morning on some stuff that they may be.
Yeah, I've seen that too. Yeah, when because they're grumpy and they get out of bed sometimes. It's easier for them to be prepared. I've seen that happen as well. That's a lot of companies have gone to giving them the next day, and at the end of the day, so they have an idea, they can kind of prepare themselves for what they have to do a little bit that day. Catherine, it's a great question. I absolutely agree with Scott that I would love to hear your feedback and your experience on it. That would be. Good and bad, because that's the kind of question I think it's an interesting idea, an interesting concept. I think that's going to be really interesting. So.
All right, I'll keep you guys updated.
So I actually saw something. One of the things I love about this job is how often I see things that I've never seen before, and I've known this thing. I've known you could do this. I don't know when I learned it, decades ago, but I've never actually seen it. I saw a well. It was for an irrigation system, but it was still a well that did not have a pressure tank at all. It just had the pump was either on or off, and the guy was using it for irrigation, but That was kind of interesting. I don't know. I've heard of that. I know that it's possible. I mean, the pressure tank is there simply to keep the pump from having to cycle on and off as much. But it was kind of interesting. I was wondering if you guys run into that or if you see that often. It was, and this particular one was kind of interesting. It took about, 4 or 5 minutes once the pump kicked on for the water to, it was just a jet pump and you could hear it gurgling and struggling and trying to, suck water up into this line, so that it could run the sprinklers but guys been running it that way for 10 plus years. You guys ever seen that?
I've seen that a lot here in Jersey, specifically on irrigation, because once, if they're, big properties where they're putting out so much flow rate and it's constant, and the pressure tank just, protects the pump, like you said, from cycling on and off. So the pump just goes on. So it's not going to hurt the pump because the pump will be just fine staying on. It's that on, off, off, So when a sprinkler's on the pump, so we'll say they're irrigating for 3 hours every day, the pump's on for the 3 hours. But that would be so annoying with a jet pump, hearing that.
Well, wouldn't it eventually burn? Because the pump, there was a lot of time where the pump was trying to pump without water in it, and it seems like it would overheat or burn up pretty easily eventually. This pump has been there for 10 years and he's never replaced it. So I thought it was really interesting. They must be designed for that. But anyway, I thought that was pretty cool to see. And then the last thing before we jump into our topic here is this kind of leads into the topic a little bit. I saw, I'm on all these plumbing groups and everything on Facebook, and I saw just a little clip from a guy doing training for a plumbing company out. I can't remember what state it was, but he was saying codes are there to meet the minimum, the minimum standards, the minimum requirements. And he was training his team when he was out there that they're not going to do the minimum. They're going to, the code should not be the goal. It should be the bottom, that they, and he had a couple examples, for example, plumbing in a house with an 1.5 inch drain that, there's a toilet and a tub, and running an 1.5 inch drain to the tub, which was all that was required. But he talked about using a 2 inch, so that in the future, if that customer ever wanted to put a shower in, then they wouldn't have to dig up and re-drain the whole thing. They could just, connect to the existing drain line. And I thought that was a really good lesson for us as well. First off, it's always a good idea I love these plumbing groups. They talk so much about drains, and that is probably the biggest issue that I see in our industry is proper drain. I can't tell you how many installs I've done that were wrong. I've learned, I look at this stuff, I'm like, oh, God, I wish I could go back and undo that one. And so I strongly recommend looking at these things and following them and learning them, because, we need to be doing it correctly. Drains are really important. They are what makes it drain properly, and they save insurance claims, but also they're health related. You got cross connection issues and everything else going on there. So I strongly recommend that you sign up for some of these plumbing groups and kind of just read them and look at them and learn from them. But I also thought there was a really good lesson there to learn for us as well, that when we go in and we do this stuff, we should not be looking to meet code. We should be looking to exceed code. There's code and then there's best practices, and just the over and above. And that is going to segue us into our topic. And by the way, this is a shout out to Scott. Scott, you've done several of these, and I all joking aside, I really do appreciate it. I've mentioned to you on this call, and not only to you, but to all of you many times, that I love when you guys come up with topics to talk about. Scott always jokes about, he'll call me up, hey, you got a topic yet? And I'm like, I'm working on it. Sometimes, and it is true that sometimes that happens about 15 minutes before we log on. Like, oh, what am I going to talk about today? Because it gets busy. And so I love it. First off, it shows interest. And secondly, this call is about you guys. It's about the industry. It's about what we all run into. And I want to hear what you guys are running into. So Scott had the building value. How do you build value to kind of set yourself apart? And we have talked about this before, but I think it's a really good topic to sort of readdress. And here's my top level take on this. If there are 5 companies in your area, and all 5, you pull the brochures for every type of equipment that's out there, in every brochure, every salesperson is going to say that they have the best warranty, that they have the best quality, that they have the most efficient system, that they've got the best service. If all 5 of them take their shoes off or wear booties when they go into the house, if all 5 of them call and confirm the appointment and send out text messages and all of that, then those things do not build value in the equipment or in the service or in your company. Those are average. Even if you're doing, now it's still important to do those things, because if you don't do them and your competitors are, you're going to be eliminated as one of the 5. So it's important to do them, but if you're doing the same things that everybody else is doing, then you're just average. That becomes average. So the question here is, what do you do that I call it wow service? And that's where you do something, where you have something as a policy in your company that makes the customer go, wow. That's wow service, right? We hear that term, but I'm like, I want those customers sort of being blown away by the above and beyond. I want them to look at me and my company as very rare. It makes them impressed enough that they talk about the service as much as they would talk about me if I had done something wrong. I don't want them talking about me because I did something wrong. I want them so blown away that they're talking about the experience to their friends and family and everything else. So what do you do that gives that, to build value, to make it to where you are, you have that wow, right? That makes people willing to pay the premium price that we charge. I mean, look, if you're listening to this and your company only focuses on price and that's the only way you sell, then this isn't going to be as relevant to you, because it's hard to give that top-notch quality and value and service if you've always got the lowest price. I mean, you can strive for that, but it's it's more difficult to do because giving value and quality and service costs more. But anyway, Scott, this was your topic. What's on your mind?
One of the key takeaways from this journey that I've taken over the last month and a half is selling on price is a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
If you sell on price, then number one, you're not going to make the margins. You're not going to pay the bills. You're not going to do what you need to do, and you're going to lose because there's always somebody that is going to sell it lower than you. And so on the outside looking in, let's just say, like to take your eyes off of like water softeners and like really put yourself in a customer situation where we know a lot about water, we know about water softeners, and we know about ROs, and we know about dry brining, and ours does this and does that. And from the outside looking in, the customer is looking at it and goes, well, that's nice, but that looks exactly like that water softener on Lowe's for like $900. Because essentially from the outside, they all look the same. If you take the average person that's not really into a car and you put a Kia next to a Mercedes-Benz and they're both the same color, well, they're both black cars. They both got four wheels. They look exactly the same. So what's the difference? And when I was talking about like value is what are you doing that your competition is not? I'm sure you've all had the contractor come in the house where they come in and regardless of what you're looking for, they come in, what do you got going on? They walk around the house for 15 minutes and then come and give you a price. Here's what you need. You want to do it? Okay, well, you want me to email that to you, and they're in and out in 15 minutes. There's no value that has been established of like really finding out what you need and like what problems they're trying to solve. So it goes all back to, asking the questions on the front end of what exactly you've got going on, but also asking the questions to uncover those things like dry skin, laundry, things that they're not aware of. Are you doing bottled water? Why are you doing bottled water? A good thorough water test and actually explain what the numbers mean. But I do strongly believe that if you're not doing at least some of the sink demo, whether it's, the hand wash to show the difference between what your water feels like now and what it could feel like and why it does feel like that, and, get over the hump of that, that most people say slimy feeling, and explain that, it's better with that. The glass wash, the laundry dissipation, the tea demo to actually show them like what it is, and then the plumbing evaluation to if they did something, where would it go, best practices, potential problems. So that all should be basics. That's what everybody should be doing. But on the back end, if that Kia looks like that Mercedes, what do you do to build value in what you're actually providing them as a company? So, you can do like just a water softener, but with City Water, we never want to do just a water softener because the chlorine in the water. So you like want to add the carbon filtration, and with the carbon filtration, the main reason is to make the resin last longer, but you also get the benefits of like having refrigerator quality through like every faucet in the house. So mainly chlorine-free showers, because so many people complain about dry skin, dry hair. Do you offer additional levels of filtration? Like a lot of companies are using these Pioneer filters, these sub-micron rated to reduce PFAS. How many ROs are you selling? Because I think, Kelly, you would have agreed with this, and I think the trends from WQA are stating the same things, that the industry used to be mainly about whole house water and water softeners, but with everything in the news about all the contaminants, the microplastics, all of that, I think that switch has come mainly to a lot of the reasons people call you out is concerns about drinking water. And so, how many ROs are you selling? And it goes back to, like Wendy's, they have a value menu. But a burger in the size of a $50 and 4 chicken nuggets, that's not value, that's price. So what are you doing to provide value to set yourself apart from your customer? Justify your cost. But the other thing is there's only 3 ways to grow a business, and that is getting more customers, which is the most expensive way, selling to the customers that you already have. But the biggest opportunity that you have once you get in front of that customer is, what do you add to the ticket to sell more to that customer when you're in front of them? So carbon filtration, microfiltration, ROs. I'm curious, does anybody do the like the mowing, the electronic whole home shutoffs? Are you doing like tankless water heater flushes? Or are you doing water heaters? What I am curious from everybody else, what are you adding at the sales appointment of not only the water softener, but what are you adding to build the value to set yourself apart from the competition, but mainly to increase that average ticket and the number of things that you sell on those sales calls?
Anybody? What was that, Catherine?
I said crickets. That was a lot. I took a bunch of notes.
It was a lot. It was a lot. And we got about 2 minutes.
Back in my hole.
Yeah. No, it was. Go ahead, Paul.
It was lovely.
Yeah, it was. So I think we've got about 2 minutes here. The one thing I would add, and I 100% agree with you. We've talked about this before when I used to wait tables. That's what they always wanted you to sell, appetizers, and it wasn't the most expensive meal they wanted you to sell. They wanted you to sell the appetizers and the drinks and the desserts and the add-ons, because those were, people are coming in to buy a meal automatically. It was trying to get you as a server to sell the add-ons, because that increased the ticket. And as a server, it wanted to do that because you got the tips were based on a percentage of the check a lot of times. So that's. The other thing I would add, though, that the one part about getting business that you sort of glossed over a little bit, but it's kind of critical, is you're right. New customers are the most expensive way to get business. New customers, the advertising, the marketing, and it's so much competition out there. But your existing customers, that is where you can get, even after they have purchased everything that you need. It's their, people move every 2 or 3 years, but also they have referrals, and those referrals they're super easy to sell, and they're an extension of that existing customer. So really, making sure that customer sees the value in it, they'll be your best salesperson for sure. It's a great topic. I love it, and Scott, you did that. Sometimes I like handing the reins over to you, because I love your passion for this and just the systematic way you guys do things down there. I appreciate it very much. So everybody, thanks so much. Please take a look at Moti-Vitality.com. Let me know what you think of the changes and if there's anything I need to work on it. Other than that, we will see you next week, if not before. Be safe, everybody, and thanks again.